If you've ever wondered why I'm slow with videos, well, there's this... Well, so I've got a new thing that I've been... My time recently has been... Did you know that the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV has a free trial and... Alright, I'll admit it. I fell victim to the trap. I downloaded the trial and the tiny devil on my shoulder smiled because she knew it was already too late for me. Your Honor, the game is clearly goated with the source, the tiny devil tells me. And I agree. The game slaps, and I'll tell you why. Now, the reason why all my time is gone can be blamed on 3 parts. Story, community, and the actual game part that's hiding in there somewhere. It's like 3 games in a trench coat, except the trench coat is also a game. Fashion around these parts is no joke. So when I first started the story, I was scared that I would be a bit out of the loop, since this was my first Final Fantasy. But as it turns out, there's practically no connection between the different Final Fantasy games. They just share a few names, some base themes, and the funny little chocobo friends. I thought I wasn't going to like them at first, but they really made this friend the most marketable little guy in the world. People often say that the story is award-winning, and that makes sense, considering what it's up against. Most stories and games take between 10 and 30 hours to complete, while this one, well... They've got a lot of time to tell the story, and they're making real good use of it. There's an insane amount of plot threads, and they all manage to be relevant somehow. Things that happen in A Realm Reborn have come back in later expansions, and it all makes sense. It's like Chekhov's gun, except every object and person you ever meet is gun-shaped. And it's all good stuff too. I can't really talk much about it, since that would be spoilers, but everyone I know enjoyed it a lot, and I think you will too. Unless you already got through all of it, in which case you're a lot further than me. What? I should have finished the story by now? Now listen here, I can spend all the time I want being distracted by the cute bunnies and Limsa, and I'm not any lesser for it. Speaking of spoilers, the community is, by and large, very nice around all that. If you're just minding your own business, you'll probably be fine. In-game, at least, there's big pressure to not spoil things. Most you'll probably hear is...
Look forward to the Shadowbringers. That was my favorite.
Which I've heard so many times by now that I made Heaven's Ward my favorite, just to spite them. Now, because there's so much story and basically everything is locked behind the main scenario questline, you might be tempted to rush through it just to unlock things and get rid of that pesky sprout icon. But I recommend taking your time with things. The story is best experienced at your own pace, even if that means spending a month making friends in Limsa, while there's a world-ending calamity constantly about to kill everyone. But that sprout icon is a good thing. It's your doctor's note for being allowed to mess up in fights. You get bonked? Collect your shame sticker, but it's alright, because the local white mage mom will give you a lily, some pats on the head, and some milk and cookies afterwards. But the actual game, is that any good? Well, like usual, it's up to personal taste. I think it's cool. There's a lot of different jobs with different playstyles, but they all basically boil down to pressing the buttons in the good order, while dodging whatever the boss throws at you, and sometimes doing math. Jobs all fall in one of 3 categories. Slapping,
bitch.
getting slapped,
For fear, the fury is without.
and having a medical degree.
Oh my god, are you okay?
They all have their own quirks and things that make them hard in their own unique ways. The tanks, for example, have to eyeball the boss constantly to make sure they're ready for whenever the big slaps come around. Meanwhile, the healers not only have to heal the tanks after getting slapped, but also have to account for people getting hit when they really shouldn't. And the DPS does, well, big DPS using a variety of funny damage buttons. You've got your 1s, your 1-2-3s, your Mobius strip combos, and whatever hell black mages go through on a daily basis. And the best thing is, you're not locked to any one of these. Job sucks, hit the bricks. Tired of healing greedy DPS players? Become one yourself and experience true catharsis. You can level anything you want, so might as well get them all. For me, the combat strikes a nice balance between being engaging while also being capable of being relaxed. Through a combination of job and fights, you can pick exactly how many wrinkles your brain needs to have. There's some jobs where you just kinda sit there and press the big buttons whenever they appear, and fights where you mostly just stand around until the boss spills their juice on the floor, causing you to waddle 2 feet before continuing your head-empty vibe. And in contrast to that, some bosses ask you to do their homework, all whilst your job demands you balance every resource on the planet and tied your shoelaces together when you weren't looking. But Hanli, if this game is so good, why are you never actually playing it? It always says you're just sitting in Limsa, the jewel of the coast, home of the pirates reformed. Y'all are reformed, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind. But all jokes aside, the people here are the real reason I've been enjoying myself so much. This game has a lot of opportunities to just really vibe and interact with people, whether that's chatting in Limsa, or peeing in a nice cozy cafe, or any manner of chance encounters in the wild. Just a few days ago, a wild Lalafellan chef offered me a healthy home-cooked meal for only $14.99. And of course, I accepted. There's people like this all over that spend their time just trying to make others happy. For example, one part of the community that I respect a lot is the bards. Yes, bard is one of the jobs, but that's not entirely what I mean. Bards have this extra ability thingy called performance. With it, they can pull up a variety of instruments, and then... But some people have been transcribing full songs for this system, sometimes even for multiple instruments at the same time, or even a full band. But there's more community than just Limsa. I know, shocking. But the hospitality of the people here extends to playing the game as well. At minimum, people say hello and GG at the end of fights. And at best, you can have entire conversations in the middle of a dungeon. Now, most people are pretty quiet, but some people have trained at effortlessly weaving in questions about people's days into their already complex DPS rotations. In the business, we call that GCD typing, and it's a real high-value skill. But besides the people, the fights, the story, there's so many more things to do. There's fashion, crafting, PvP, housing, photography, clubbing, shady activities, treasure hunting, and yes, even fishing.
Oh, fish.
But I hope you can see the takeaway in this, being that there's just a little bit too much to do in this game. It's so easy to just get lost in a tangent of a tangent. I've spent many hours lost in this beautiful maze of a game, and I intend to keep at it. I've got too many new friends to meet and pictures to tag. Maybe even make some videos about it.